If we can lose our focus, we can reclaim our focus. Greetings, welcome, and thank you for joining me for this session. Over the past couple of weeks, we started a conversation discussing the topic of distractions. We discuss how activities and life events have been created purposefully to distract us from more meaningful and important experiences. It is true that society does play a role in distracting our attention, but it's also fair to point out that we also create a lot of this distracting energy as well. We do so for any number of reasons. Today, I would like us to continue our conversation and discover how to overcome distractions and reclaim our focus. Allow me to share a few verses from the Gospel according to John, chapter number 11. When you're there, I want to put our focus on verse 17. I'll be reading from the New King James Version of the Bible. When you get there, you will find these words. So when Jesus came, he found that he had already been in the tomb 4 days. Now Bethany was near Jerusalem, 2 miles away, and many of the Jews had joined the women around Martha and Mary to comfort them concerning their brother. Then Martha, as soon as she heard that Jesus was coming, went out to meet him, but Mary was sitting in the house. Now Martha said to Jesus, Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. But even now, I know that whatever you ask of God, God will give it to you. Jesus said to her, your brother will rise again. Martha said to him, I know that. He will rise again in the resurrection at the last day. Jesus said to her, I am the resurrection and the life, and he who believes in me, though he may die, he shall live again. And whoever lives and believes in me shall never die. Do you believe this? She said to him, yes, Lord. I believe that you are the Christ, the Son of God, who is to come into the world. Verse 38. Then Jesus, again groaning in himself, came to the tomb, and it was a cave, and a stone lay against it. Jesus said, take away the stone. Martha, the sister of him who was dead, said to him, Lord, by this time there is a stench, for he has been dead 4 days. Jesus said to her, did I not say to you that if you would believe, you would see the glory of God? Then they took away the stone from the place where the dead man was laid. And Jesus lifted up his eyes and said, Father, I thank you that you have heard me. And I know that you always hear me. But because of the people who are standing by, I said this, that they may believe that you sent me. Now when he had said these things, he cried out with a loud voice, Lazarus, come forth. And he who had died came out bound, hand and foot, with grave clothes, and his face was wrapped with a cloth. Jesus said to them, loose him and let him go. I believe that this particular story has so many great ingredients in it. But as relates to our topic, I believe that we can glean some common traits that can serve us as evidence that we need to reclaim our focus. On some level, I believe we all realize those moments when we have lost our focus and have become distracted. I would like to share that the list I'm going to share with you is not a definitive list when it comes to evidence of distraction. I am sure that many of you can add even more items to this list. The 5 items I want to share with you was inspired from chapter 11 in its entirety when it comes to the story of Lazarus' sickness, death, and ultimately his resurrection. The first item on our list is fits of anger and rage. We can see this when Martha goes out to meet Jesus, when she hears that he is in the vicinity. She is not very happy when she meets Jesus, and her words and her actions are indicative of this. The second item on our list is something that she does with her words when she begins to speak to Jesus. And that is, she blames Jesus ultimately for her brother's death. So after fits of anger and rage, the second item would be blaming. The third item is misconceptions and disappointments. We see this when it comes to the resurrection. The time frame and the way in which the resurrection would manifest was a misconception to Martha. This was something that obviously Jesus had taught them in his time with them, but she had a misconception concerning it. Jesus pointed out that he was the resurrection and the life, and believing in him would give one access to both resurrection and life. Misconceptions will many times be connected to disappointments. When things don't go the way we feel that they ought to go, when things don't happen in the order we feel that they ought to happen, we are disappointed. And these 3 common traits are a great source of evidence that one has been distracted. The fourth item on our list is being in a rush to receive, achieve, or accomplish anything. We see in the conversation between Jesus and Martha, she was very abrupt when she says, if you pray to God, whatever you pray for rather, God will give it to you. So let's get this thing on the roll. Let's get started. Now that you're here, let's immediately get my brother out of his grave. Clear indication, I believe, that Martha and many that would be in a rush to receive, achieve, or accomplish are being distracted. The fifth and final item on our list is unfinished projects. Anytime you have unfinished projects, it's a clear indication that you are being distracted. Many times we have these things that we're working on, these priorities, these goals that we're working on, and they're in various stages of completion, but yet none of them are completed in totality. Clear indication that one is being distracted. But Jesus steps in and he deals with the distraction. And his response to Mary, to Martha, and to those that were mourning Lazarus' death, I believe gives us some very good items that we can use to reclaim our focus. The first thing I believe we ought to do is do the mental work of remembering and recalling those things that have been deemed to us as a priority now. Yes, we can send our energy in many different directions, working on many different things. But what is it that has been deemed to us? What is it that we deem now to be a priority? The second thing we ought to do is remember and recall our assignment in relationship to those priorities. How we should respond to those priorities. Which priorities that we deem important now should we attack first, second, third, in some kind of organized plan. The third item I believe is very important. Pick up where we last stopped. Just jump right in, right where you left off. The fourth item is, while you're jumping in and working where you last stopped, is abandon all loathsome feelings of regret. Just let it go. The mind and the emotions are going to go there. If I had not wasted time, if I had not lost my focus, I could be so much further along. Let that go. And just continue working right where you left off. Fifth and finally, remain aware that there is divine assistance for you that is available to help guide and keep you on track. My brothers, my sisters, if we can lose our focus, we can regain it. I never like to close out a session without blessing you and speaking kind words towards you. And the words that I found come from Numbers chapter 6. Very familiar passage, and it's actually called the priestly blessing. And I want to speak those words towards you. Numbers chapter 6, starting at verse 24, says, "The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace." Until next time, be tremendously blessed.